Hey there, cats and kittens, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today I'm happy to bring you issue number 46, Firestorm. And this is another character I consider to be a B-lister. That's not to say that he's a bad character, necessarily. He's just not one of the more well-known or popular DC characters, I don't think. I'm sure some people kind of recognize him, but I wonder how many people really know a whole lot about him. His history is a little convoluted, but we'll cover most of that in the magazine, which tells us pretty much everything we need to know about Firestorm here. It does gloss over quite a bit, because there's really a lot of history to this guy, and a lot of it doesn't really matter, to be honest. And then we'll look at the figure itself, taking a look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Really aesthetically pleasing character here. I've always been drawn to his design and his color scheme and the flaming hair and that sort of stuff. But anyway, please sit back, relax, enjoy issue number 46 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Firestorm. First up, Firestorm's character section. And it's here we learn Firestorm is unique amongst superheroes because he's not just one person, he's an amalgamation of two separate individuals merged together to create the entity known as Firestorm. Dr. Stein and Ronnie were caught in the resulting explosion, and when the blast had cleared, they were both gone. Instead, standing in their place was this glowing being with fire for hair. The next couple pages just introduce us to some of Firestorm's enemies, like the villain Multiplex. We're also introduced to the villain known as Tokamak, as well as the reformed villainess Firehawk. It's also revealed that Dr. Stein has developed cancer as a result from all the nuclear exposure, and is dying. So Firestorm decides to go on a one-man crusade against all nuclear arms. The JLA declare him a rogue hero and actually try to help stop him. And the USSR send out their own version of Firestorm, a man in their employ by the name of Posar. The two battled high above the Nevada desert, eventually crash landing in the middle of it, with Posar dying slowly after his suit had been ruptured, and Stein finally succumbing to the cancer. So we see this new version of Firestorm, a much darker, more brooding incarnation that's less communicative and much more decisive in his action. The Ronnie Poser version of Firestorm encountered yet another Soviet creation, another attempt to clone the Firestorm entity. Shortly after the creation of this newest Firestorm entity, we see a villain known as Brimstone attempting to destroy the sun. The last couple pages bring us up to speed with the character. We see Ronnie Raymond continuing to serve as Firestorm with the Justice League until he's killed in action by a villain known as the Shadow Thief. After Ronnie's untimely demise, the Firestorm entity sought out a new host and found it in that of a high school boy named Jason Rush. Next, we look at some of Firestorm's classic stories. First up, Legends and Firestorm the Nuclear Man. This epic miniseries finds Darkseid trying to invade the Earth yet again. This time, he's employing some of the DCU's greatest villains, like the villain known as Brimstone, to sort of pave the way for this invasion. And it really gives Firestorm a chance to shine here and prove his worth in the DCU. We see him not only taking on Brimstone, but also villains like Parasite. We also have Firestorm, the Nuclear Man Reborn. And this story is exactly what it says it is. It's the new Firestorm. It's the Jason Rush character. We see him gaining the power of the Firestorm entity after Ronnie Raymond is killed, and him trying to learn how to use these powers and manipulate them, and actually learning that Dr. Stein is still out there in the galaxy somewhere, and he, along with some friends of his, travel into space to find him and ultimately sort of resurrect him, and he gets a second chance at life, and he also gets to rejoin with the Firestorm Matrix. Firestorm's allies and enemies feature all the hosts of the Firestorm Matrix, as well as his Justice League teammate, Firehawk. And finally, the original thinking section continues the DC timeline with Part 37, Nativity. So, around the Ides of March in 44 BC, when Caesar was being assassinated, we find the demon known as Neron gaining more power in the underworld. Finally, we learn about 2,000 years ago in the British Isles, the magical Lady of the Lake created a metaphysical domain she called the Secret Sea. And here we have Firestorm, the Nuclear Man. One of my favorite characters, one of my favorite character designs, too. Let me put that out there. He is probably one of the most unique in terms of costume design, in terms of his look. I've always loved the color scheme on him, the red, yellow, and orange with the little hints of white there, like the belt and across his logo. And I've also always loved his symbol, how it wraps completely around him and looks like, atoms traveling around a nucleus or something. It's a great, unique look, and the flaming hair too. And as you can see, everything on this figure is very faithful to what I think is probably the most recognizable incarnation of this character, like Green Arrow before him, or even Aquaman, who both have had some different takes on their look they went with the most iconic versions of those with this, and that's really what they've done here too. Love every little thing about this guy, and everything on him is hand-painted, which is a nice change. The last few heroes we've had, their logos have been decals, which is okay, depending on the character. But if it says hand-painted, I'd like the whole thing to be hand-painted. That's just me. But really, really love everything about this guy. The flaming hair, too, is just so fantastically done here. It's sort of hard to notice in this shot. You'll see it better with the pictures here in a minute. But it's hard to do flames like that, and I really think they pull it off very well here. But I love this thing. I think he's really fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more with some better pictures in just a second. Firestorm stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of the base features his name in a couple of different languages along with his serial number. And so you can kind of get a sense of him in scale, here he is with the other members of the Justice League. So Firestorm, yeah, I dig this figure, I really, really do. I think the color scheme is really fantastic. I like how bright and different he is, and the pose is really cool, and the flaming hair really helps him stand out, especially when he's put up against a lot of the other heroes in the line. He's really, really unique, I think, from a design standpoint. The good. Really like the pose, really love all the little details on this guy. The details are what make him really stand out. Love the fact that everything on him is hand-painted, from the boots, which I think are really cool. I love the yellow-red color scheme, too. I really dig that aesthetically. I think it's great. Love the wrinkling in the pants and on the sleeves of the costume. I think it's really cool. Love the pointy shoulder pads, a la the classic design of the costume, which is really, really great. The logo is one of my favorites, too, and the fact that it's hand-painted, wraps all the way around him. Really nice details, really clean edges as well. You can see there is very little bleeding on the figure itself. And the face is also another really great head sculpt. Dig the fact that he has no pupils in the eyes, love the black shading around the eyes, the fact that the headpiece kind of comes up on his chin and covers his ears and his forehead and all that, and the flaming hair is just really well done. It's a nice paint job, great wash, really nicely done overall. Very pleased with this guy on pretty much every level. The bad. Not a whole lot to complain about, honestly. A few little bleeding edges here and there, but they're few and far between, honestly. There's very little to complain about. Mine also seems to have a little pinhole on the one arm, but other than that, it's not bad. I love this guy, really. The ugly, he's solid. Really nothing breakable about this guy at all. He's one solid hunk of lead, and there's really no breaking him, to be honest. He's a great figure overall. I really think he's worth having in your line if you don't already. He's nice to have with the other members of the Justice League, especially if you're trying to recreate the old Super Friends Kenner line of figures and toys and cartoons and all that good stuff. He helps fill those ranks out very nicely. But overall, yeah, I'm a big fan. I think he's worth picking up, definitely. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this review of number 46 in the line. Please stay tuned for a quick teaser of the next issue. We're going back into special edition territory, folks. It's that time again. And this one is yet another villain, but he is unlike any other villain in the DCU. You'll know him when you see him. He's been on some episodes of The Brave and the Bold, the Justice League animated series. Oh gosh, he's on the new Young Justice. I think he was on Teen Titans. He's all over the place, and he's a really unique and epic villain. So stay tuned for that, and a great figure too. Can't wait to bring it to you. As always, I'm your host, the MonkeyBoy, aka Jay to his friends. Thank you so much for watching.